Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Bury Tomorrow, the seventh son of March 31st on Music for Nations. This album has 11 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this is the band's 7th full-length studio record. They are a British metalcore band. As far as the design goes, this album is compact, but at the same time is super dynamic and super fluid. The compact side of the record allows you to see the commonalities that these songs have and allows the overall experience of the album to be more robust. It's easy for you to see what this record is all about from an overall perspective because of those commonalities coming into the forefront. The dynamic side of the album, the more fluid side of the album, allows you to also understand what sets these songs apart. So it's a record that has a lot in common, but it also offers a lot of diversity. This makes an interesting journey from song to song and across all 11 songs. And then you have two very important tracks, not just for the sound and experience that they give the record, but where they are within the design. And I'm talking about Majesty and Heretic. Majesty is the ballad of the record, a song that breaks the mood, that breaks the fluidity and gives you a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a chance to catch your breath from everything that's happened before and kind of helps set up what comes next. And what comes next is Heretic. This is the song right after, featuring Lost Taylor of While She Sleeps. These two songs work really well back to back because they both offer elements that no other song has. The ballad obviously has a different dynamic, and then Heretic has Lost Taylor on vocals. So these two songs coming together in the middle towards the end of the album makes a lot of sense for me because it makes the record feel more complete. It gives you a sense of beginning, middle, and end. Really important for any album, but specifically for a record that is this intensive, this aggressive. As far as the sound is concerned, this record is just larger than life. It sounds larger than life, it feels larger than life. The sound is thick, it has volume, is groovy, is melodic, it's aggressive, is heavy, but it also has a lot of melancholy in it. And the beauty of the sound of this album is that a lot of metalcore bands these days are connecting a lot more with that more melodic, melancholic side, and they're forgetting a little bit of the aggressive and intensive nature of the genre. Perhaps the start of the genre is different from where the genre currently is now. And I think this album taps into both worlds because you feel the aggressive side of the album. It's in your face. It's a very intensive record, both musically and vocally. It's an album that doesn't really take any hostages. It just comes at you with a lot of power, with a lot of intensity, and then that large volume that it has and the depth within that volume makes the songs feel even heavier, even bigger, even more intense. But it also doesn't forget the other side of the genre, the more melodic, the more melancholic, with the clean vocals and with those guitar riffs that take you in a much different direction, with a different mood, with a different atmosphere around, and the keys also helping that same atmosphere. So I find the balance on this album perhaps tips a little bit more to the aggressive, intensive side, making the album feel a lot better together as one. It's a record that's more about the mosh pit, it's more about the live setting, not necessarily trying to take you on this dark journey. The dark journey is there, but you can have a dark journey surrounded with aggression, and this album sound-wise really feels that way. Now as far as the sound elements, drums, guitars, keys, these to me are really important for the overall experience. The drums sound phenomenal. Not a lot of splashing, more of a thick experience grounding the album, creating more of an oomph that allows that sound to be big, but to feel like it has something in it. It's not hollow. There's depth and there's length within the overall experience, and a lot of that really comes from how good the drum sound is overall, and it's very consistent as well, always providing a similar experience and always giving the songs exactly what they need, which is that starting point. As far as the guitars are concerned, a lot of the diversity of the sound and a lot of the movement that the sound has, it's really coming down to how the guitars sound, feel, and how they're executed. Those nuances of the genre, the aggressive side, the intensive side, and the darker, melancholic, more melodic side, it's really driven throughout this entire album by what the guitars are putting together. So you see the diversity in them, but you also see the consistency in them. Great guitar solos, great melodies, great leads. An album that's very guitar-centric, that revolves around what they're offering, the experience that they're giving, the impact that they have in the atmosphere, and how well connected they are with that thicker, more grounded drum sound. The two are intertwined, where one goes, the other one follows, and it follows it so you can make it a little bit more substantial. Last but definitely not least, the keys, the orchestrations, the synths, whatever you want to refer to, whatever you want to call, these elements are also important in this record for two reasons. One, they don't drive the experience. They're not overused. They're not overplayed. This is a card that they didn't overplay, but it's a card that they played in a way that allows the album to have textures, that allows the album to have layers, and those layers are important in order for that big sound to once again not feel hollow. The drums are doing their part, but they can only do so much. You need something else to fill in all the blanks, to fill in all the different holes that exist in order for their album to feel aggressive, intensive, but still carry an atmosphere with it. And the synths, keyboards, orchestrations really help with that atmosphere. They really help set the tone, more so on the melodic, melancholic side of the record than on the aggressive side. But on the aggressive side, they're still important, so they can dilute a little bit of that aggression and mix it better with the more downturn experience that the album also has. So I really enjoyed how they used it, how they didn't abuse it, playing the card right, making the sound feel better together, more mature experience, more mature sound, great production behind it, and not necessarily pushing those elements into the forefront, which we're starting to see more with metalcore bands. As far as the vocals are concerned, Daniel feels pissed off. I mean, this record, I think he definitely had a point to prove, and it comes across in his vocal performance. It sounds organic, it sounds natural, connected with the experience of the record, connected with the aggression and intensity that the album has, and it really allows you to feel that heavier side of the album coming through, not just on the musical basis, but also on a vocal basis. Tom offers his clean vocals in order to balance that experience, and he connects better with that darker, with that more melancholic, calmer side, if you will, that the album also has. And this dynamic is important. They really know where they need to go with their experience, with their voices, in order for this album to have the necessary ebbs and flows vocally, because it has those same ebbs and flows musically. Great work by the two of them. They really paired up perfectly on this album. I honestly feel like Tom complements Daniel extremely well. This record vocally is nearly perfect, and this makes the album feel complete. This is one of the strongest, if not their best record to date. It's just an album that has them all geared up and taking the band and taking their sound in the exact same direction. You don't listen to this album and feel lost in it. You don't listen to this album and wonder, where the hell are we going here? What is the point of the sound? What is the point of the album? This record answers all questions and it leaves nothing unanswered on the table. And when you look at the vocal performance, when you look at the dynamic between the two, when you look at what Tom adds, not just from a vocal point of view, but also with his keyboards and the orchestrations that he puts together, when you look at the movement of the album, the way it's constructed, the ballad is beautiful. So you have to look at all of these pieces and you find an album that really doesn't have soft spots, that carries the listener, that makes the experience of listening to the album enjoyable. It makes it an engaging experience, and it's a record that when you reach the last song, you're ready to go back again to the beginning because it didn't bore you. It's not an album that overdoes everything that it has to offer. Everything comes in the right amounts and the right doses, making the album extremely playful and playable from start all the way to the end. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with The Seventh Son. This is the opening track, and I think it's a great opening track for the album because it introduces to a lot of the elements that you're going to see throughout the entire record. It has a subtle atmospheric opening, and then the heavy hammer hits, and it hits hard. It hits hard vocally and musically. It's a track that has some methodic moments, but it also has some driven moments. This creates a lot of texture. It creates a lot of ebbs and flows. The harsh vocals help increase the impact, the intensity, and the heaviness, and then the chorus with a more clean, stripped down approach, both musically and vocally, allow you to feel the other side of the band, the more introspective side, if you will. So it's a track that has constant movement. It doesn't have just movement between verses and chorus. It has movement within the verses and within the chorus. So it's a very mobile song, a song that has a lot to give, that's very engaging, and a perfect representation of what the entire record is going to be all about. Next we have Forced Divide, and this is a song that you better hold on to your hats. Talk about a roller coaster ride. This song is an absolute insane ride. When you look at the vocals on the track, when you look at the music behind them, it's intense, it's aggressive, it's heavy, it's big. They use the clean vocals on this track almost just as a pit stop, if you will, on this Daytona 500. That's what this song is. Song is Daytona 500. So you're looking at the clean vocals more just as a pit stop, almost a way to set up the aggression. Because if you just have intensity, aggression, and heaviness, it gets really boring. But if you use the clean vocals in some more mellow moments, you're able to slow down things and then restart the song with that same intensity. So it feels even more intense, even more aggressive, even heavier every time you go through those valleys and you reach those peaks. Really interesting song. Now, it has like a bass. It starts off with a bass, but then it becomes more atmospheric, keyboard driven with some vocals in it. Really atmospheric part that almost feels like a musical blast. That's what this portion feels within the song, because once again, they extended what they were doing before, they stripped it down even a little bit more, but this increases the impact of how the song then finishes off. Last but definitely not least, I have to talk about Majesty. I've talked about this song quite a bit. It's the ballad of the record, and it's a great song. It starts off with the piano, with the keys, with the synths, with the orchestrations, and clean vocals. Tom on clean vocals, and just a really stripped down sound, allowing those clean vocals to come into the forefront and become the dominating factor within the entire track, driving the song, pushing the song forward. Now, it doesn't stay that way all the way to the end, because it would feel a little bit too empty. It would feel too one-sided. And when you have ballads on heavy albums, you need to also infuse some heaviness towards the end of said ballad, so you can finish off the song on a high note, on a very intense note. And that's exactly what this song offers. The first 2/3 of the song are very mellow, very stripped down, musically and vocally, and then the last third, the song picks up in sound and heaviness and volume, and then you have the harsh vocals working as backing vocals to the clean vocals, creating an interesting dynamic, almost an echo, but also making a sense of depth to the overall vocal performance, because musically the song also gains texture, it also gains volume. So when they did this with the vocals, they tried to match the same style and the same approach in the two elements so that the song can finish on a strong note across all the different parameters. One of the best songs on the album, because it has beautiful elements to it, beautiful elements in the sound and how clean it is and how stripped down it is, and those clean vocals that take you for the first 2/3 into the last third as well are incredible. Really melodic, but at the same time with a lot of energy and also with a lot of emotions built into them that emphasize every single moment, every single detail of the lyrical content that this song offers. This is it. Bury Tomorrow, the Seventh Son, out March 31st on Music for Nations. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.